Yo, what is going on, guys? Season 4 is here. My name is Pure Noble. I'm going to be talking about some of the major changes that is coming with Season 4, including all the big changes that is happening to the Big BR map, the 2 new weapons that are introduced in Season 4, as well as all the weapon adjustments that are made, which is definitely going to change up the meta this season. But if anything, let's get right into it. Alright guys, so I'm going to be going into the big changes that is happening on the Big BR map, Urzikstan. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, but right now I'm just going to read this little summary that Activision had put on their blog post. In an effort to enhance the Battle Royale experience on Urzikstan, we've decided to increase the number of players in each match from 100 to 120. Our initial design intent at the launch of Modern Warfare 3 was to focus on mid-game pacing, ensuring a steady and consistent build-up throughout the match, to strike a balance between matchmaking times, client performance, and match pacing. We initially centered our game balance around 100 players. This required extensive revisions and balancing across various aspects of the game, including early game looting, engagement times, weapon damage, armor values, movement mechanics, redeploy mechanics, economy, and strategic and defensive tools. We're proud to say that overall we've been quite pleased with the results over the past few seasons. That said, player feedback continues to indicate a desire for more action, so with that in mind, we have made the necessary changes to accommodate a higher player count without disrupting the delicate balance we have worked hard to achieve. This time around, these adjustments have been primarily focused around redeployment mechanics and our match economy. Gulag tokens now have a low chance to appear in general loot, with specific spawn rates from different chest types and guaranteed availability from most wanted and buy stations. Redeploy tokens are now part of a new tier of legendary items and have specific spawn conditions to maintain balance. Additionally, redeploy flares have a controlled spawn rate in legendary chests and other support item locations. Our goal with the economy is to make cash more meaningful and create clear paths for acquiring key items. We've slightly reduced the amount of cash found in loot, increased the number of supply boxes, updated the cost of buy station items, and adjusted the rarity of certain items to promote a more engaging and strategic looting experience. With all these changes live in Season 4, we aim to deliver a more strategic experience that emphasizes risk to reward while maintaining consistent action-packed pacing throughout the match. As always, our team will be carefully monitoring internal data as well as external player feedback, and adjustments will be made where necessary as we move forward. Alright, so let's get started with the first couple of changes on Urzikstan. So first of all, they are opening up the bunkers. Bunkers are unlocked. They now have an escape hatch as an alternative exit. Now it won't be a one-way in, one-way out. There is going to be more strategic placements to get in and out of that bunker, as well as new rewards that have been added to various locations. Alright, so it looks like they have added 4 different new gulag layouts every time that you go to the gulag. So I like this because if they're rotating the different types of gulags each time you go in, it's not going to be the same experience. So at least that way, you know, the playstyle changes up a bit, the gameplay changes up a bit, and it won't be that same monotonous gulag that you go through every time. Alright, now moving on to some of the items that is being moved into the Big BR map. So we have 1 new item and 3 other items that are actually from Rebirth or Resurgence that is being moved over into Big BR map. So starting with the new item, Tac Sprint Boots. Infiltrating any of the accessible bunkers to obtain the Tactical Sprint Boot perk, which will give you an increase to your base speed and an infinite tactical sprint improvement. Does not drop on death and can be found in bunkers. And then of course we have the Specialist Perk Pack, where you know that the Specialist perk is just enables your character to have all of the perks rather than just having the set 3 or 4 that you usually do have. The 2 other items, you got the Bunker Buster. This one was originally from Fortune's Keep. You could only get the Bunker Buster on Fortune's Keep when it first released, but now they brought that item over into Big BR map. So this is really good because with Big BR map there is a lot more camping, a lot more strategic building fights and building placements. So if we can find a way to get them out of that building and get them out into the open, this is a very good item to have. Alright, we also have another item that is actually being brought over from Resurgence mode, Rebirth Island. This one is going to be the Utility Box. Now for those of you who don't play that much, Utility Box is essentially a ammo box and plate box put together. So it is the combination of 2, the benefits of 2, but almost twice the price, which I think is really good that they bring over into Big BR map, because with the Big BR map, cash is going to be spread out a lot more. The way that you're looting, you are actually traversing more distances. So if you can find a way to just get both of those benefits of an armor plate and ammo box and not having to find extra money to get both of them, you know, Utility Box is a good middle ground. now. And then we also have these things called loot hot zones. So I guess the way that they explain it, designated points of interest on the map may now be identified as loot hot zones. These do not appear on the attack map, rather they must be discovered. What's very interesting is that these loot hot zones, right, if we have to discover them, does that mean they're always in that consistent spot? Say like if you discover them on this part of the map, will it always be on that part of the map, or will it change every single round and you just have to coincidentally discover them? I think I would rather have the second half of that, where it just randomly changes each time, because that way you're not always having just specific hot drop zones. The hot drop zones will always be different. If they keep the loot zones the same, great, cool, that's good for sweaty players who are going to memorize every hot drop zone. But ideally, if you want, to spice things up, if you want different fighting variations and you want teams fighting in different parts of the map rather than the specific loot hot zones, I think switching it up each round is still a better idea. Now, this is my favorite part of the changes that's happening on the big BR map. Now, you can pause the video, you can screenshot this, you can read it over. I'm not going to go through every single word on this. I'm just going to generally summarize it. But if you look here, starting with loot updates, loot has received a general balance pass. Many items have had their rarity adjusted, making some items more common in grounded, while other items are exclusively rare in chests. Now I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go over to the gulag tokens, redeploy packs, and redeploy flares. Reason why I want to talk about these specifically is because the big BR map is slowly starting to become a resurgent style map, and that's what we've been hearing on COD Twitter. That's what we've been hearing some other players, because with the amount of gulag tokens, redeploy packs, all these chances for them to give another chance to go back into the game, it almost feels like a rebirth style map. A lot of players, that the reason why they play big BR is because once you're out, once you lose your gulag, unless you're being bought back, you're out of the game. And I think that brings it more closer to a true battle royale experience. And for them, the issue was all of these items were just popping up or just way too easy to obtain. So anyways, starting with the gulag tokens. Gulag tokens, very low chance in general loot. Guaranteed from most wanted, limited inventory at buy stations. So good. Redeploy packs, doesn't spawn in general loot. Good, because I can't tell you how often and how many times I've seen these redeploy packs, to the point where I question myself, like either I'm very lucky or the drop percentage of the redeploy packs is like weirdly high for a big BR map. But anyways, redeploy pack, low chance as a reward for most wanted. Redeploy flares, low chance in legendary chest, lower chance where support items can spawn, such as medical cabinets. So with those medical cabinets, on top of getting those stims, you are having a chance to get the redeploy flares. And I think this is where the exploit really happened too, with the flares. Everyone would just essentially just go building to building, keep looking for the bathrooms and these medicine cabinets, and just stock up on the amount of flares. That way, and the entire team would do that. So instead of stacking up on armor plates and other items, essentially they're just getting flare. That way they can keep being aggressive. That way they can just keep going, because they don't have to worry about losing the game. They're just going to be brought back in. As long as someone on the team has 3 or 4 flares in their inventory, they can play like a resurgent style mode rather than being more strategical. Now, mind you, this is not a playstyle that is shamed upon. I don't think it's a bad thing, but for people who really want that true BR experience, it's not creating that for them. If you wanted to do it that way, if you wanted to stock up on flares, might as well just go play Resurgence. Alright, moving on to the 2 new weapons that is coming on launch day for Season 4, and then there's also one more weapon that's going to be coming mid-season. So with the new weapons, starting with the Superi 46, this is a submachine gun. This pistol caliber carbine chambered in 4x6x30mm is designed to give impressive stopping power with a skeletonized lightweight frame, exceptionally adaptable. This weapon can be modified to excel in most combat scenarios. And then we also have the new infamous Kar98K. Now, initially before this update, I was very scared for the Kar98K. I thought it was gonna be like Vanguard, where it's essentially a slower rifle. It didn't move as fast as the MW3's Kar98K, but after season launch, after leveling up and playing with it, I think it doesn't have the same speed as MW3, and granted it shouldn't, it is MW3, it is different, but they did get fairly close to it. The mobility feels good, the rechambering feels nice. I don't know if they how do I say it, if they cleaned up and they really emphasize the audios on the Kar98K, like when you hit a heady, because when you get that headshot sound from the Kar98K, it is Oof, it is beautiful. But anyways, Kar 98K Marksman Rifle. This modernized version of the World War II bolt action rifle is powerful and accurate, high damage output with a slow rate of fire. And the other weapon that is going to be coming mid-season is a sledgehammer, so it is just going to be a melee weapon. And if you guys are liking the video so far, it would be the world to me if you could drop a like, drop a sub to the video, and stay tuned for more additional Call of Duty content. Thank you so much, guys. Alright, moving on to the new aftermarket parts that are going to be coming for Season 4. Now, mind you, some of these aftermarket parts are already available on other weapons from the previous seasons, but now what they're essentially doing is they're adding this aftermarket part for other weapons that is not having that aftermarket part option. So starting with the Jack Harbinger kit is the compatibility for the M4 assault rifle. We also have the Jack Gunslinger, which is compatible for the Basilisk handgun. We got the Jack Vault, which is compatible with the KV inhibitor sniper rifle. The Jack Scimitar kit, which is compatible with the FJX Horus submachine gun. The Jack Thumper 656, which is given to the RGL 80 launcher. We got the Jack Requiem, which is compatible with the Cast-Off 7.62 assault rifle. Jack Decimator, compatible with the Lockman Shroud submachine gun. This one I really like because this allows the Lockman Shroud MP5 to fire in full auto. You didn't have that option before with that, with the Shroud submachine gun specifically. Then we got the Jack Intimidator, which is compatible with the Renetti handgun. Alright, so now it's time for the meat and potatoes of this vid, which is talking about all the buffs and or nerfs that is coming with the weapons in Season 4. Now, these changes and nerfs definitely changes up the meta this season to an entirely different set of weapons. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna give a brief overall summary of the type of nerf and the type of buff that each weapon is gonna have. Alright, so starting with the assault rifles, we got the BP-50. This is a movement nerf. The Bal 27 has a damage range nerf. The Holger 556 has a damage range and damage modifier buff. The SVA 545 is a damage and damage modifier nerf. The MCW is a damage buff. MTZ 556 is a damage range and damage modifier buff. Cast-Off 762 is a damage range and modifier buff. The Chimera is the damage and damage modifier buff. The ISO Hemlock is a damage range buff. Moving on to the submachine guns, the AMR-9 is a damage and damage range buff. The FJX damage range modifier and recoil buff. Rival 9 has a velocity buff. The Striker 9 has a damage nerf. The WSP 9 damage and damage modifier nerf. And then moving on to the LMGs, you got the DG58 has a damage modifier and velocity nerf. The Holger 56 is a damage modifier buff. And moving on to snipers, the XRK Stalker has a damage modifier nerf. There hasn't been any nerfs to pistols, there hasn't been any nerfs to shotguns this season. Alright, and some additional notes to take away for the Season 4 update. People are asking about the Warzone rank play for the big BR map. This is their statement. While our teams are targeting to release rank play battle royale before the end of the year, we are not ready to commit to a specific timing just yet. We are using the months ahead of time to tune the design of our rank play system to reflect and complement changes since made to the core battle royale experience. So I'm guessing what they're doing is they're trying to see how all the changes that they're doing now for the big BR map and how the players are receiving it, the player feedback, and using that player experience and feedback to fine tune their rank play for battle royale. So, you know, even though it's literally been almost the entire life cycle for MW3 because, you know, Black Ops 6 is around the corner, it is a little late for them to drop a big BR map rank, but nonetheless, I'm glad they still did. And that concludes some of the major changes that is happening with Season 4. I'm excited for it. I like the new weapons that are coming in. I like the new aftermarkets coming in. I love the fact that the big BR map is getting a lot more love and care this time around, instead of it just being constantly about just resurgence mode, resurgence mode, resurgence mode. But if anything, guys, I hope you have a great day and stay tuned for the next video. Take care.